Hi, a long time has passed since the last video that I have published, but now I do feel I must give a warning about everything that I see in terms of the current transits. Now, don't get panicked, but yeah, there are some things that you should be aware of and that you should prepare for. One of those things is the fact that right now we have Jupiter in Aquarius and Rahu in Taurus. Now, Taurus is the sign of assets, of fixed wealth, and Aquarius is the sign of the stock exchange, the mass markets. It's the fifth from the seventh, the marketplace itself. Now, these placements are exceptionally good for the economy, but as you might have noticed, behind the scenes, the illusion that Rahu creates is slowly shattering, be it economic problems in China, be it the shortages in the United States, and the rampant inflation throughout the entire world due to all of the problems with the coronavirus and all of the problems with the shipping. Overall, we are seeing quite a few alarms going off in terms of the economy, and they should be, because both Rahu and Jupiter are about to exit those signs. And in Aquarius, Jupiter is going to be replaced by Saturn. Saturn will restrict instead of the expanding Jupiter, and as such, we are about to see a stock market crash. And the first one to go would be obviously the illusionary Rahu. As soon as he is out of Taurus on the 17th of March, the one thing you will see is people realizing, hey, there is a huge problem in terms of actually acquiring goods, both in terms of their prices going up significantly and in terms of actual availability of raw materials. So the bubble is about to burst, and that's when you should expect it to. The next domino to fall would probably be Jupiter, as he is the one exiting Aquarius on the 13th of April. And as soon as Jupiter is gone, one might expect that the optimism enjoyed by the stock markets today, which is relative of course, but still, they are on the rise, well, it's going to go with him. But the final nail in the coffin is, of course, the arrival in Aquarius of Saturn, which is scheduled for April 29th. Now, as you can see, it's only a 2-week difference between the departure of Jupiter and the arrival of Saturn. So, the optimism will be replaced by pessimism fairly quickly. And one should be prepared for that, because as soon as it is, the bullish market will very likely become a bearish one. But as always, the economy is only half of the story. The other half is, where does Rahu go next? Into Aries, the selfish sign, the sign of conflict. And right now you have the very interesting conjunction of Mars and Venus. It's a very rare occurrence when Mars and Venus travel together very closely for basically a couple of months. So what you will see is a very intense conflict. Now, to be clear, I have mentioned several times in my previous videos that it's not Mars but Venus that represents war, because Venus is the planet of agreements, of partnerships. And when partnerships break down, when agreements break down, that's exactly when you get the warfare aspect coming to the surface. Actually, whether it's the ancient Egyptians or the ancient Mayans, they both looked at the retrograde of Venus to predict warfare between them and others. So with that combination, and with the transit of Rahu to Aries, one might expect that the economic crash will not be just because of all of the issues mentioned before, but also due to some international conflict. To be more precise, it is often the case that when a nation is facing economic hardships, they will choose to go to war to distract the population. Otherwise, the regime might collapse. And to be fair, there are quite a few regimes on the brink of collapse right now because of all the problems that were caused by the lockdowns and the rampant inflation. So we are very likely headed for some major conflicts up the road. So why do I release this prophecy of doom? What's it for you? What can you do about it? Quite a lot, actually. The first thing is be safer financially. Save up. Invest in something like gold or some other valuables that can be traded and that don't suffer from inflation, like fiat currency. Get yourself a plan B, if you will, in terms of what you have in your pocket. It can help you a lot. Obviously, if you live in a country that can go to war, well, at least prepare some emergency rations, some emergency supplies. If not, live in the country entirely, avoiding the war zones. These are the most basic things that you can do to prepare for such an eventuality. There are, of course, many others, but I'm not an expert and I cannot know your personal situation, so it's for each and every one of you to decide what you will do. The one thing you can do is be prepared, and with the current transits, you should be, as the outcome is very, very likely to be exactly as described in the beginning of this video.